Home Trails podcast presented by me, Ultra Running Sam. Now, this podcast is part of the Home Trails media entity that encompasses our Home Trails documentaries. You may have seen them on YouTube, so where we interview famous ultra runners from around the world and in the UK at the moment. We film them on the trail and in the home, obviously, Home Trails. Get those insights into their training, big races they've done, and then just their background information. Try and dig a bit deeper into what motivates them to go and do these amazing things that they do. Also part of Home Trails is new for this year is our live podcast coming from big races. You may have seen us at the Spine Race in January. We were there doing our thing all week. Later on in the summer, we will be at the Lap in the Lake District, and then keep your eyes peeled for other races where we'll be popping up and doing media coverage for some big races, hopefully. So obviously we have a podcast now, so we'll keep doing this every week, keep churning out the podcasts with famous runners and people in the industry, anyone that we can get on that we feel that you might be interested in related to trail running and ultra running. So on with our guest. Okay, welcome back to the Home Trails podcast, Keith Wigley.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, and it's actually it's my first solo podcast, and without my usual, I've got neither minder in the form of Hugh or Tom. So yeah, let off the chain.
Yeah, you've been allowed to come on your own this time.
Yeah, proper grown up.
So you're sort of grinning from ear to ear. So you're obviously very happy with the results at Ultra Trail Snowdonia, aren't you? Does it feel like all the hard work's been paying off, obviously?
Yeah. I was super pleased. I guess in a way, still feels a little bit odd, but yeah, super cool feeling to be like up there on that podium. Get that, like, in fact, the last few K, I was in fourth for like the whole back half, and I only got into third, yeah, like kilometer 100, let's say 105K race, so like really close to the end. And I can remember thinking like, I want that photo. I want it to be Albon, Blanchard, Wigley. Yeah, so yeah, super pleased. Like, it just, yeah, a really good day out.
Yeah, for sort of people that didn't follow the race. Obviously you did what was it classed as? Because it's weird, isn't it? The UTMB's classifications of races is like they're like bands, aren't they? And they're not always the actual full distance, or they're a bit more or a bit less. So what was your official race and the distance and everything?
Yeah, so this was UTS 100K category, and it works out about 105K with
So it's more then, because some of them are less, aren't they? Than
yeah, you get some. So like the Arc 50 is a 50 miler, but in the 100K category. And you get a few other 50 milers out there on the circuit, or 80Ks, which are in the 100K category just because it's the closest. But yeah, this is pretty much bang on 100K, give or take, with 6,800 meters of vert.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, like you were saying, to be on that podium. So your race was the one that that everybody was talking about as being the most competitive race of the whole weekend. Did you feel any sort of pressure going into the race, knowing who you were lining up against?
Yeah, I mean, like I did it initially when I signed up. You can see like the elite start list, like months out. I think when I signed up, can't remember what time of year it would have been, but Blanchard was already on it. I hadn't decided whether I wanted to do the race yet, but like I'm a bit sneaky in that my index score, my UTMB score is good enough that I can sign up to 100K races for free. So I kind of like, and the other guys in the team and like Tom and stuff you've had on, they always take the mic, but I basically like just block book as many races as I can. So I like, you'll like, if I consider it as like free publicity in a way, and it gives me loads of contingency plans. But so I do that with loads of races. But I did the same with UTS, and Blanchard was already on the list, and Simon Gosselin was already on the list. So two good French guys. And then after Trans Gran Canaria, Josh signs up, And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then Albon jumped on it as well, and I was like, okay, cool, getting even better. So that really like swung the balance towards doing it. And I've done it for the last, I did it in 2023, I did it in 2024. It's become like, yeah, a little bit of my go-to race.
Mm.
And I'm at that stage now where you want to race the top guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I did Arc in January and Tom Evans was there. So it's good to see how you stack up, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Did you feel like you get to a certain point in your career, or is it sort of more like a confidence thing where you, rather than looking at a lineup and thinking, "Oh no, they're doing the race," you look at it and you think, "Yes, they're doing the race," because you know that you get a good run for your money.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I remember when I first started doing ultras back in like 2018, 2019. I remember like deliberately picking races that I thought I could win. And they were like local ultras and stuff like that. I'd like look at course records and I'd be like, okay, maybe I can win this. And I think I went for like a couple of years where I just like, they weren't like big races or anything like that, but I was always like podiuming them. I was like, oh, I'm amazing. Whereas now, like you say, it's like, yeah, I just want to be like in amongst it and be on a start line with like top guys, and just see how you do.
Yeah, amazing. Do you sort of when you're running with those guys, do you sort of feel like, like for us, I'm talking about myself here, like mere mortals, like where you kind of look up to those guys, do you sort of feel like, do you fanboy them a little bit, or are you just like your colleagues more or less kind of thing now?
Yeah, it's hard to say. When you say run with those guys, I probably only ran with um all of them for the first 100 meters, and then Albon was gone, Josh was gone, Blanchard was gone, and Jean, who ultimately slipped back a place, and Josh unfortunately dropped out. So that, yeah, you say run with them, but like I really ran my own race rather than thinking about racing them. Um, and I mean, that really paid off in the end. I tried to more think about racing the course rather than racing the athletes. I think that really helped me out, particularly this time. Whereas in, say, the Arc, like he went off really quick and Tom Evans was there, and I felt like I was pushing a little bit out of my comfort zone, trying like maybe overcome by that sort of like Tom Evans is in the race. Let's push it. Let's see how we're doing. Having done that, I've now sort of switched back to sort of the strategy I'm a bit more comfortable with, and the strategy which I've done in other races before, which is more about thinking about myself and just treating it more as like a long run rather than a race, and just stay comfortable, stay easy for as long as possible, and then see how you are after 50K, but still hold something back. Think about like moving just efficiently and effectively over the terrain rather than like forcing it, and pushing the pace. And then before you know it, like people start coming back to you. You're like, oh, there's fourth. Okay. Oh, there's third. It's a real difficult balance though, because um, unless I go with Albon at the start, I don't win the race.
Mm.
Um, like like 9 times out of 10 now, like someone the caliber of athlete at the front of these things now is so high that even if, well, in this case, four go off hard, one of them will make it stick at
Mm.
least.
Yeah.
So if you're playing this more conservative approach, which worked for me here, doesn't always work. Like you probably increase your chances of coming in the top five, but you probably reduce your chances of winning.
Mm.
That makes sense. It's
Yeah,
it's difficult balance.
yeah, that does make sense. I know. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. I've been ultra running for a long time now, and that was always my approach. My approach was always just be steady and consistent, and then wait for people to sort of blow up at the front, and then
Yeah,
crawl your way up into the podium. Um, and that worked for me for years. But then,
yeah,
like you say, there's been a shift, hasn't there? And is it the professionalization of the sport? Is it just guys are getting faster because they're training better and using every trick in the book? And like you say, now it's that being able to reel people in is not as easy as it used to be. Whereas now everyone's kind of just this. Some guys will just go off like a shot, and like you say, they make it stick, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So how do you feel about taking? At some point, do you feel like you'll start taking those chances and going with the gun and going off quick?
Um, well, I certainly tried that approach more at the arc, deliberately so as well. We did a race back in October last year called Templier, big French race, like sort of second to UTMB out there. Like it's a week long thing as well, and it's an 80k 50 miler. And I used my normal strategy. Let's call this the normal strategy, the more conservative approach. Still went off reasonably hard, but like held myself back, and I probably worked myself from like 20 something to 12th. Whereas Hugh Chatfield, who's in the Elite Trail team, um, he he ran more his style, which is go off quite hard, and he finished 10th, 2 minutes in front of me, or
Mm.
less than 2 minutes in front of me. But he absolutely capitulated for like the last 10k, let's call it.
Mm.
Like I was gaining, but it's almost like he's already banked the money. So even though he's like crumpled, he's banked so much time on me that even though I'm finishing strong, I can't get him. And you see it's similar in this race that Albon like blows up, takes a lie down at the top of Snowdon. He like really has to like reset at the last crude aid station, but he's banked so much time over everyone else that like Blanchard, me, I mean Jean kind of blows up a little bit as well. But like I take 10 minutes out of Albon in the last 10, 15k.
Mm.
Um, but he's gone. Like he's just so far ahead because he's banked it so early. Um,
It's a tricky game
so
to play, isn't it? It's like
sorry.
it's a tricky game to play, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so tricky. So I then off the back of that Templier race, I wanted to kind of like flip the strategy and go off like harder. So I tried that at the arc. Ultimately, probably pushed too hard too early on some of these early like climbs, like shorter, sharp climbs at the arc. And then on the more runnable half later on, my legs were like gone. Like you've not got the power left because you've like pushed the lactate so hard early on, all these early surges that you can't move efficiently anymore. So I kind of like trying to find the best balance again at UTS. And I think I got it just about there. But I also know I finished and there's more time out there. There's more time out there. But you don't know during
Mm.
the race if you're pushing too little or too hard. But I think like I want to come away from these races with something. I'm not like an all or nothing sort of guy yet. You see like the top guys, UTMB for example, like loads of DNFs last year weren't there because
Yeah.
people just want to. They'd rather win or just drop out, like or come top 10 or drop out. They don't want this middle ground. Whereas like I feel like I want something out of the race. You'll invest so much time in training into it. Like I wouldn't want to just blow up at UTS and then just DNF or a crawl to the finish for a 10th or something like that. Like I want to taking the more conservative approach probably like banks you at least a good result, but it also maybe leaves something on the table where you're like, oh, there's another 2 to 5% in me. If only like I pushed a little bit harder here earlier on or something like that. There's always that question mark, but I think, yeah, like I said, I think it's safer bet.
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously you've done the race before, you know the area and everything. How did you training change for this year? Has it changed drastically, or is it, do you sort of stick to what you knew for that? I know obviously you're getting lots of support now, aren't you, with Elite Trail team and stuff?
Yeah. So I was with the Elite Trail team last year as well when I did it. I suppose the main differences were that last year I only had just joined the team and I'd already like planned out some races and stuff. So for example, I did like Seville Marathon in February last year, and then I did a trail marathon in Spain in sort of Easter time, maybe like 5 weeks out from the race. So my calendar was not ideal because I'd kind of like picked these races before I was coached. Whereas this year was a bit more of a clean run in from post arc till UTS. There was nothing but training. So I mean, like the week after, 1 week recovery from the arc, and then from then all the way up to taper would have been 100k plus weeks, maybe like 100 to 100. I think I maxed out at like 150k week. And this isn't like massive. Like that might sound really impressive to lots of people and stuff, but it's not like massive volume compared to like some guys that are like pros or at the top of the sport. They'll be banging out higher volume than that. But it's quite high volume if you consider that I pretty much every one of those weeks is only a 5-day running week. So even if I do 100k, that's averaging out at half marathon a day if I'm only running 5 days, or thereabouts. So
that's a deliberately having 2 full days of rest, is that?
Yeah. I settled on this. I had quite a good run of training into the arc, which was maybe like 1 day off a week or 2 days off a week. And then some double days, some double thresholds and stuff. I really felt like the block into the arc was quite small, but it felt good. So I fed that back to Doug. Doug Stewart is my coach and like founded the Elite Trail team. I fed that back into Doug after the arc, and then we just kind of stuck with that plan. And then sort of approaching the race, instead of doing like the trail marathon, which I had the year before, I had a much more specific period in Easter where went out to Doug and his wife Alexa. They live in the French Pyrenees in Fulia. So we had a week of like high volume. I called it like over stimulus, over training week. It was just like run, get vert. That week with Hugh and Chris Jones, who won the 50k. We were there as a 3. So that was a really good week, like really good stimulus, 5 weeks out from the race. And then 3 weeks out from the race, I did my usual recce of the route. So don't do the whole route. I do like the central 50k of the 100k route. And I mean, that was really vital for me this year, in that it's probably the only time where I like deliberately went out like quite slow. I was chatting to other people out on recce's. The weather wasn't great. Lots of like, I was at the end of a big heavy training week. Lots of caveats to like why that would be a bit slower. But I finished it, and like the gap, the grade adjusted pace, the pace of the run would have got me like the similar finishing time to what I ran the year before. And I was like, oh my God, like I wasn't even trying. Like I literally finished and was like, my legs feel so fresh. I could do another 50k, absolutely certain that I could hold that pace for the whole race. So I kind of carried that forward to race day and was like, I don't need to run this. Like all I need to do is just like progress, like just move slowly, smoothly. I have this saying which the team also mocked me for, which is I think it comes from the military. Like slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Have you ever had that feeling where you like someone puts pressure on you and it's like, do that task faster, and you start like panicking, you're like, you're fiddling around with stuff and you can't do it because the pressure's there. Whereas like if you just slow things down, you actually end up doing a task faster. And I think the same applies to running. So I like that recce was great for me because I had like the mental image in my mind of like, all right, that effort will correlate to that pace. I know I can do it slightly harder in the race. Like it's a nice sunny clear day. Like all these caveats are now in my favor. And then I just went out and was like, I will just hold that effort all day, and I know it'll probably beat last year's course record. It just so happens 2 other guys also beat last year's course record.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Do you think that's just like the culmination of all this sort of specific training that you've been doing since you started being coached by the Elite Trail team since last year, since that happened then?
Yeah. I think like with anything, like just simply getting a coach, you're not going to become like a better runner in the space of like
Yeah.
a month or anything like that. Like it takes time to them to get to know you, you to get to know them, like working out like what sort of strict structure with the coaching and the training works best for you. Like I said, like I really think we only found that like good balance sort of into the arc and after the arc. So that would have been like 12 months into it. And yeah, it's just time. Like with anything, it's just like consistently showing up, like grinding out. Like but I love it. Like I love the training. Like happily, like go and sweat up buckets on a treadmill, day after day. Yeah, it's just accumulated time, I think. Um, yeah, yeah, I think so.
Mm. Talking about mileage then. So you were sort of saying about your like weekly mileage being so I don't work in kilometers, so we sort of in like
60 to 80 miles, I think. Yeah.
80 miles. Yeah, and that seems to be like the sort of sweet spot for you then. And that's all done in 5 days, which is interesting because yeah, you'd have thought that maybe you would yeah, that could have fit into 6 days. So do you feel the benefits of that then of having two full rest days that sort of to soak that up?
They're not rest days, they're just non-running days. So I'll often, both those days usually have like a gym and a bike or just a gym. Um, yeah, but yeah, I've definitely felt like the body almost needs it for me in terms of I feel like if I'd end up doing 6 or 7 days, like few of those runs just start feeling like a bit sluggish, like I'm just kind of like shuffling along, whereas I much prefer like a focus on quality rather than quantity. So on those 5 days that I am running, like probably only one of those days and one of those runs is like an easy run.
Mm.
Like every other run is like a workout or has some sort of intent behind it. Um, which I think, yeah, hopefully the proof's in the pudding that like the quality like really has brought me on. If you compare to, so 2023 is when I first ran the race. I did it in 13 hours, 30 and change. Um, and that was 5 years into ultra running, just like going out for runs, when I could, like plodding around, like I've never done intervals or anything like that, just running when I could. And then now, 2 years on, to do it in an hour and 15 minutes faster on probably like a slightly, definitely a course which had like a couple of 100 meters more vert anyway as well. I think that's really come just from the last 12 to 18 months of focusing on quality rather than just like junk miles. I don't like the phrase junk miles. I think like doing volume and just simply running like will improve you. That like once you start getting to that, like it like caps you eventually. Like you can run, but like you're not raising the ceiling at all. I think like to raise the ceiling so that you can increase the volume even more, like you're gonna have to start doing some hard stuff. But I'm not doing anything like crazy. I think it's just consistently like the consistency trumps everything. I'm not doing any heroic workouts or faster than anyone else or steeper than anyone else. It's just like go to the gym, put the treadmill up to 25. Here we go again, like intervals. Next day, easier run, gym, bike, just accumulated training, but always
Yeah,
focusing on quality first.
yeah. Keep showing up. That's really.
Yeah, yeah.
What other support are you getting from the Elite Trail team then? So obviously you coached and everything. So what sort of facilities have you got sort of at your fingertips, and what can you sort of lay your hands on that's helping you?
Yeah, so we've got sort of elite sports panel of different experts in different fields so that we can all sort of book an online sort of check in with. So we've got Rebecca Dent, who's a registered dietitian. We've got Charlotte Edelstein, who's a sleep doctor. We've got Josephine Perry, who's sports psychologist. So they're all people we can bounce sort of, we can book stuff in with and sort of chat to. We've also all gone through. We actually did our first sort of ETT camp back in over Easter, actually on Easter weekend. We all came together in Loughborough, which was an opportunity to do more lab testing. So most of us now have all gone through sort of lactate threshold testing, sweat rate testing, VO2 max testing. So not that these numbers are, say, VO2 max and stuff like that. It's not totally like a lot of it's genetically determined and stuff. It's just a number. I wouldn't read much into it, but certainly some of this testing, sweat rate testing, very applicable. Like to get an idea of how much I actually need to drink and what sort of sodium content I need to consume. That's been really valuable. And the lactate threshold testing, which sort of sets your limits, so you can have an idea of when your first lactate threshold is, so where you progress from zone 2 to zone 3, and then your second lactate threshold, where you progress from zone 3 to zone 4 is. That's really good. Like I used that. Well, I didn't use that, but like I throughout the first climb at UTS, just like constantly glance at the watch, like making sure I'm not stepping above that limit into zone 3 and pushing too hard. Whereas like previous year, even though I had some of this stuff behind me then, I hadn't really sunk in and got too excited by the race, like pushed too hard too early. I mean, I can give you numbers and stuff, but like UTS this year, 20 minutes in zone 3 for the whole race. UTS last year, an hour and 40 in zone 3 for the whole race. It just cost you.
So what is that? So, sorry, just to interrupt you. What is that? What does that physically look like as far as like you're going off heart rate, aren't you? You're looking at your heart rate. So so when you're going up that climb, what range are you trying to stay in then for you? I know it's
Okay.
obviously
Yeah. For me, so all this can be caveated slightly. Like your heart rate from your LT1 from zone 2 to zone 3 is going to fluctuate like daily with hydration, with rest, whatever and stuff. But it's good to have a ballpark figure. So mine's around 168 BPM. So I didn't want to go above. I set like a limit of around 172. I didn't want to go above 172. So just like creeping into zone 3 at the start of the race. So all the way up Lamberis Path, it's like a pretty gradual climb. I would just quick glance at the watch. And if I think I just like this, I think all the zone 3 was basically this first climb, the whole race. But I was like, oh, a little bit too hard, just ease off a little bit. And yeah, it was good. After that first climb, though, never looked at it for the rest of the race, because you've overcome like the biggest hurdle of the race. Biggest hurdle of the race is don't go off too hard. Once that's done, then I know like I can just feel by effort on the succeeding climbs that it's fine. So yeah, that's good to know. And then we got loads of partners on board now with Elite Trail Team. So Endurance is an official like nutrition partner, so we all get products through them. Yugoku caps. Squared me away with a beautiful bucket hat. Oh my god, I cannot recommend a bucket hat more highly. Like game changer in terms of keeping you cool. Training Peaks is like an online training platform that we're with. And we got loads of other stuff. And actually, if anyone's, that's a little plug, but we're just starting up what we've called the Elite Trail Team Run Club, completely free, kind of like similar to like a Patreon sort of style thing. Basically, it's a discussion forum, so like you can ask us or any of the experts or Doug's any questions online, and we can get back to you. There's also loads of like discount codes to other things out there. Trail Skin, like anti-chafe. We've got some coffee on there. We've got some sun cream stuff, like loads of different things, completely free. And I think we're going to be launching it a bit more officially on social media soon. So stay tuned.
Yeah, if you've got links to all that, send them to me,
Okay,
and
cool. Yeah, I'll do.
in all the show notes and in the social media and stuff. Yeah, that's good to know. So
Yeah.
you feel like obviously it was the right decision to sort of be part of the elite trail team. Then you don't feel like there's been no negatives to it. It's all just been positives. Then
Yeah, I mean, like, there's nothing else out there. Like, if you like, it's really nice to be part of a team, because ultra running is like, well, you're like just like pretty much just a guy out there by yourself. Otherwise, aren't you? Like training alone, pretty much, like racing alone. That's quite a lonely sport if you think about it. So it's been really nice from like a team perspective. We, as just the athletes, sort of do a weekly call on a Monday, and we just like chat through each other's weeks, little targets, goal setting, stuff like that. And then when you show up at like a race, so take UTS, like Chris Jones was there doing the 50k, Nico Dalcoma, who's one of our Swiss guys, he was there doing the 50k. I was doing the 100k back at the Arc. We had Poppy Collingwood in my race, Hugh Chatfield in my race, Chris there again. Like it's nice turning up to a race and like not being the only one there, and like they're all there at your finish line, you're there at their finish line. And yeah, I mean, I definitely would not be anywhere near the athlete I am now. I'd still be jogging around, like taking the dog out and just like mooching around for 30 minutes, then coming back. Whereas now, like, yeah, to have all that sort of setup with coaching from Doug and all the add-ons and extras and the testing and the support from brands and stuff, like, yeah, awesome.
That's great. What are the plans for the team then? Is it something that's going to expand, or is it sort of the central core is there now and they're just concentrating on you guys?
Yeah, so it's 14, I think 14 athletes on it just now. Last year, so at the end of last year, Doug sort of went through a bit of a recruitment drive, like a couple of people, quite a few people applied and stuff like that, and then 2 others joined. So now we sit at about 14. I don't know whether he plans to sort of recruit a few more at the end of this year. At the moment, it's like predominantly self-funded. You know, like it's coming out of Doug's and Alexa's bank balance. Really, say if I book an appointment with Rebecca to speak about nutrition, Doug's paying for it. I think Doug's like ultimate goal would be to get like a bigger like a financial partner on board, not necessarily to pay the athletes, but to cover a lot of those other costs and maybe support like an annual training camp and things like that. So yeah, but it's just really difficult because if say he like approached Nike and was like, look, this is my product, this is the team I've created. Well, one problem is that we're all sponsored by different individual brands. Like, so like Nike's offer to us as a team would have to be alluring enough for us to all drop our private contracts or whatever that may be with our current partners and stuff like that. And also like from Nike's perspective, Nike would be like, well, I can just go out and just pick a Jim Walmsley, Killian, whatever, and just chuck money at them, and then I'll have the best team I want, rather than like this mix of people that Doug has assembled. Whether we're maybe not the best, but maybe we're pretty good, you know. So that's one problem. So I think a non-endemic running related brand might be the way that it goes, you know, like. And I think that will come. Maybe that doesn't come to us, but I think that will come further down in trail running. You know, I see it's going towards that level of professional cycling, but just like several decades behind. In that, in years to come, with enough television coverage and like online stuff, instead of just having Ultra or whatever across your chest, you're going to have like Ineos, Tesco, Greg's, because it'll get the coverage, won't it? So yeah, I think non-endemic is more likely than like a specific running brand to sort of financially back us if that comes about. This is me kind of spitballing, but this is maybe where Doug's head's at.
But that's, I suppose, the model is already there, isn't it, with cycling, professional cycling, and it's true, isn't it, that it seems like trail running seems to be sort of just behind slightly. That you know, everything sort of gone before it eventually filters down to trail running. So yeah, and that's it. I suppose when you know people are complaining, some people have complained about you know the money coming into the sport and professionalization and stuff like Golden Trail and them focusing on like the viewability, is that a word?
Yeah. Like the
stuff,
figure of 8 courses or whatever you call them.
all that
Leaf
kind
courses, what they call them, I don't know.
flower petal forming.
Flower petal, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, so that people are whinging about that and everything, but you know, for the sport to go forward, it's got to happen, hasn't it? That money's got.
Yeah, I think so. And if you don't like those things, then don't watch those things or don't race those events. Like there's plenty of low key ultras out there that you can still have a great time at. So
Yeah, yeah, that's it. There's plenty of
choice is
ultra,
yours.
there's plenty of low key ultras for us to target to try and podium at. But but not for you, obviously. You're in the big leagues now. So what's the plan for you then for the rest of the year? What are you focusing? Have you got everything sort of laid out? I know you said you've got all these like race.
Oh, contingencies for days. Um, yeah, I signed up to I woke up. I think signed up to Mallorca like yesterday morning. I saw they'd open registration, so I was like, boom, another one on the list.
Yeah.
Last year I was running Mallorca and Coolamandin on the same day and didn't go to either of them. But anyway, yeah, I mean the big goal for this year has been to qualify for the GB team for Worlds, which is in Canfranc in September, the long course, which is an 80k with like some serious vert. I think maybe like 5,000 meters plus, and it's meant to be like really technical. So, I mean, yeah, this is the kind of weird situation I'm in now, in that the selection race for that team is 14 Peaks, which is 21st or something like that of July. June, sorry. So in about four weeks now.
Oh, it's less than that. If it's 14th of June, that's like 3 weeks away.
20 something of June, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
It was a 5 week difference between UTS and that anyway. So yeah, it's close anyway. And
Where's that then? Where is that?
back in Wales, Snowdonia covers the Welsh 3000s.
Oh,
It's a 50k, so that in itself is a bit weird because it's qualifying you for an 80k race, but it's got some serious vert. It's really technical. It's a cool course. Like I've wrecked some of it. So I mean, the original plan was to do that race. If you come first or second, you near enough guarantee yourself to be selected. That's what the policy states anywhere. They caveat it a little bit, but like pretty much, come first or second in that race, you'll be selected for the team. They have 6 spots. There's no guarantee they take 6 people. In the previous like Worlds and Europeans, they've taken 4. So let's say first 2 people at 14 Peaks, they get a spot. That leaves 2 people to either be selected from that race also, or based on resume. So you can submit like an expression of interest. Look, I've done this. My original intent was to do UTS and then sort of carry through the fitness and do 14 Peaks. But I might still do that. But I mean, if it wasn't a GB qualifier, I wouldn't touch it because like 5 week turnaround, lots of risk there of like risk of injury, etc. Like pushing too hard too early after doing 100k. Like why empty the tank again when I just emptied the tank? It'd be a silly thing to do from that perspective. And also, like, if my ultimate goal is to perform well at World Champs, like it would be so much better to now go straight from UTS, recover, train through, maybe do a race midsummer, and then do Worlds. Like so. In my mind, like the best way for me to do well at Worlds, it's like a catch-22 here. The best way for me to do well at Worlds is to, do that, train, race midsummer, do Worlds. Whereas doing that also reduces my chances of being selected for the Worlds team because it means I skip 14 Peaks. So I'm in a little bit of indecision at the moment. At the moment, I'm kind of geared towards that sort of course of action and sort of hedging my bets and thinking the UTS result is hopefully good enough to get me over the line if I submit a resume.
So quite confident that you would sort of be picked with that on your resume then.
Given who I know who's going to 14 Peaks and the sort of athletes that I know, I mean, all of this is like subject to change. Like Jonathan Albon could turn around like tomorrow and be like, I don't want to do UTMB. I'm going to go to Worlds. Hand me a spot. So given what I know about who's doing like UTMB weeks, so the policy says you can't do CCC or UTMB and Worlds. You can do OCC and Worlds. But so if you're an Evans or an Albon, like another names, a Jolly, exact, they are as I know, as long as they don't change their minds, they're in UTMB camp, not doing Worlds.
Yeah.
And given I can see the 14 Peaks start list, I can see who's in the world's camp, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm slightly on the fence because there's no guarantees, like absolutely no guarantees. And if they didn't pick me, I couldn't complain about it because they just say, well, you didn't do 14 peaks, and I'd be like, yeah, I know, but I'm not doing 14 peaks because I want to be in the best state for world. They're like, well, you didn't do 14 peaks, so I don't know. In a way, I still want to do it because like Hugh's doing it. He's become a really good mate of mine. Like we race similar races. We're both really similar caliber. We sort of developed at the same rate. Like we both were third and fourth at UTS in 2023, and now we're both in the elite trail team. And Hugh's doing the race, and it would be great to like culminate our journey together and like come first and second in either order. He'd probably pick me, I reckon, over 50k. But there's no guarantee. Like, so I could also do 14 peaks and not come first or second anyway. There's plenty of other good runners there, so it's almost like I do another race and it doesn't get me any closer to being picked anyway. But anyway, so yeah, there's one train of thought where I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to like finish the journey with you, like get the bibs together, like, and then go to Worlds together. And then there's the other sensible side of me, which is like, come on, you're like elite, no, like don't over race, like remain calm, do a race midsummer. I am fortunate in that like, I'd be gutted if I didn't get picked or I didn't come first to 14 peaks should I decide to go. But I'm fortunate in that my alternative or my backup is I'm in CCC, so which is obviously like great, and like a complete luxury. So yeah, at the moment it's Worlds or CCC as it stands, and I won't know until end of June.
Yeah,
and I can't tell you if I'm going to race the race or if I'm going to race 14 peaks or
not. What's the timescale between UTMB and Worlds? I know everyone's complained about it being close, but I don't know specifically what the gap is.
UTMB is what, last week of August, and Worlds is 20 something of September. I think second last week of September. So like a 4 weeker maybe at most.
Yeah, it's silly to be doing anything strenuous there and then try and do that.
Yeah, it's a sensible policy. Like, what's not sensible is like, why did they position World? Well, I think they deliberately positioned Worlds to compete so that people had to make a choice.
Yeah.
But I think other countries' selection policy might let them do both. Actually, don't know if Katie Scheid is doing UTMB this year, but I know she's in the US team, so she's in the Worlds team. But I'm not sure if I think she's doing hard rock instead, actually. But still, like, yeah, other countries, different policies and stuff. But it is a sensible policy from the UK, to be fair. Like why would you pick someone for Worlds and then let them absolutely ravage themselves on CCC or UTMB?
Yeah. You see people try and do the Western States UTMB double, don't you? And the gap between that is obviously longer than 3 weeks, but it's there's not many people that have done that successfully, is there? You know, do two big races. So if you're concentrating on doing UTMB, then you're not going to do well at Worlds, are you?
Yeah, it's just a shame. Like, well, actually, it's kind of like beneficial in a way for the likes of me in terms of like being selected that they positioned it really close together. Because if they were wider apart, then maybe Albon wants to be at Worlds, Evans wants to be at Worlds. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm underselling myself. Maybe I could sneak in a fourth or fifth place in the team. I don't know. But yeah, lots of names have, on paper at least, put themselves in UTMB this year.
Yeah, awesome. So you're pretty happy with the way that this year's turned out so far, and everything's looking good for the rest of the year, then.
Yeah, it really feels like it's come together, which is good. It's weird though, because like in a way, like I almost felt like that UTS race is probably, so in the, let's call it 6 years of ultra running, I feel like everything went well. It's like, oh, I've cracked the code. Finally know how to run ultras perfectly. I'll just do the exact same for the next race.
Yeah.
And I know that's not going to be the case. Like, that's what's great about it though, isn't it? Like every ultra is just like a constant puzzle. You think you cracked it, and then something else chucks it in. But I mean, running race, is it? It's just like every variable imaginable. Like, how do you manage yourself, your body, your hydration, your nutrition? And then even if it's going perfectly, you just fall over. No, but the year's been good. Like
Yeah.
I think I could have maybe got a better result at the Arc. I'm not saying I beat Tom Evans, but I think like Hugh took a good 10 minutes out of me. But like I said, like it was kind of like a test in a new strategy. And now that I'm back to the sort of diesel engine wiggly approach, I just need to maybe fine tune it and see if I can scratch out a few extra percent. But yeah, like I say, you just don't know at the time. You don't know if like this effort is too little, too hard at the time. It's the great ultra question, isn't it? How hard do I push, and for how long? And you can never crack it.
The eternal question. But I suppose, looking back on UTS, at the beginning of your career, if someone had said to you, you would be on a podium with Albon and Blanchard, would you have believed them?
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, it's funny to think. Yeah, back in 6 years ago now, where you just signing up for races and eating one gel, and then I used to just think that like bonking was just like
Part of it.
part of the experience. Yeah, you just literally just run until you're just
Run out of energy.
just wrecked, and then just drag your corpse to the finish line. And then only maybe like 12 months ago or 18 months ago, with the help of like ETT and all the support that's brought, did I finally realize like, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, you can actually, if you just fuel it right and stuff like that. I think we're all stuck in that like low fueling train years ago, though, weren't we? Where like you just have a couple like nuts and one gel and just crack on with it. Whereas
What,
now everything's
what
a
are
lot
your
more
numbers then?
sensible.
What are your numbers for carbs per hour then? Because obviously, the trend is that everybody's pushing it up and up and up. What have you done some experimenting with that and found like a happy medium, or are you still figuring that kind of thing out?
Yeah, I mean, I did about 100. I'd say for this race, I carried on me 90 grams an hour.
Mm.
And if you add in like guzzling most of a bottle of 90 grams of fluid at aid stations, probably tops me up to about 100 grams of carbs an
Mm.
hour. And I've done races with more than that. Like the Arc was probably like 120, and Tomplay last year was similar. Um, I think you do have to flex it a little bit based on the effort. Um, like UTS run at a much lower heart rate and is much longer race than the Arc. Um, Whereas the Arc and Tomplay like are like really like pushing a harder effort. So it's almost like the body demands the carbs a little bit more. Like I can feel like I need more. Whereas with UTS, like no lows, nothing, just steady away. And I'm not. It wasn't like always like program 90 carbs an hour. Maybe some was a little bit more than that, 1 hour, a little bit less, but it averaged out that way. And it felt like a good balance for that race, that effort. But maybe switching back to like a slightly shorter race, like a sort of 7 hour mark for the Arc, I might want a little bit more. But I was part of a study with Paul Booth that leads
Uh,
Beckett over.
Great guy, Paul.
Oh, you've had him on, haven't you? You talked about this study, so I was one of his experimentees. I listened to that podcast actually. Yeah, 7 hours on a treadmill and never get back. Worst experience of my life. Thanks, Paul. Like absolutely horrendous.
How
Like
did he get you to sign up for that?
oh, I don't know. Like, yeah, blame Doug a little bit for it. I think
Oh,
I originally like saw it on Instagram. I saw Andy Berry, like a reel from Andy Berry about it on Instagram, and I like messaged Doug being like, "This sounds quite interesting. Like a prolonged study to see like what carb utilization is actually like over 6-7 hours. This could be interesting." Before I know it, like Doug's messaged Paul and signed me up as a bloody lab rat. Yeah, horrendous. Like just staring.
what did you find for you then from that? What did you get out of that other than it being like mind numbing?
Yeah, so I mean, um, Paul's yet to like release results and stuff like that, so I don't want to take words out of his mouth and stuff. But I think his general consensus was that like at that intensity and for that duration, like 90 grams seems enough.
Mm.
I was literally messaging him the other day because he messaged me after UTS being like, I heard you're on 90 grams. Good, or something like that. And I was like, oh, yeah. But I think he would even caveat, and I messaged him afterwards being like, explain that same situation that we just talked about, whereas at like a shorter race, for his 6 hours, I think I averaged like 150 beats per minute or something like that, or mid 150s. And I said to him, well, if I was doing a 6 hour race, my average heart rate might be like 165, like it was for Temple, it was for the arc, like a lot higher. Therefore, might I need to have more carbs because I'm working harder? And he said, yeah, I guess that's like a possibility. But yeah, you got to find what works for you. And I think there's a cost there as well. Like definitely at Temple and the arc, I had a lot, like not bad stomach, but I think like if you're really pushing these high numbers, like there's a cost, there's a you got to weigh up, yeah, you got to weigh up the risk of some gut upset and stuff. Whereas I felt like 90 grams for the effort at UTS was solid for me.
Yeah. It was interesting when I spoke to him and he was sort of speaking about, because I think it was off the back of like David Roach sort of saying how he was going like well over 100.
Yeah, like 150, like man.
And I was sort of putting it to him about that and whether that was feasible, and sort of his response was obviously in the studies that he's doing, people aren't processing that amount. There's like a limit on how much you can actually get into your system and process, and maybe the people that are go pushing above 100 are actually people that can just tolerate it through their gut, and it's not supposedly that they're not using it all.
Not actually using it up. Yeah, it's just either sitting there and not. Well,
Yeah.
funnily enough, I'm pretty sure David Roach regularly complains about how many times he has to go to the toilet during a race. So maybe it's not sitting so well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does at Western States. I'm looking forward to see.
Yeah, I see a few name dropouts though.
Yeah, Jim's out and Hayden
Yeah.
Hawk's out. I don't know if anybody else has dropped out. I don't
We're
know.
gonna have to rename the documentary Breakable too.
Well, they're not doing it, are they? Not happening. So I've been emailing the guy. Can't remember his name now. The guy who did the original film, because I'd said to him, if you're doing it, I want to know. I said I want to get him on the podcast either way, regardless of whether it happens. And then he just sort of said it was kind of up in the air. And I also spoke with what's my other contact who works with Ryan Threrer, who.
Oh yeah, free trial. Oh, what's happened?
Who works with.
Oh, you still there?
Yeah,
Oh, we're back in.
yeah. I lost you for a second.
Yeah. Works with free trail. That's where I finished. Ryan Thrower.
Yeah, no, literally, yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Ryan from Free Trail, he'd sort of said he didn't think that it was going to happen. So yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Yeah,
Still plenty of characters they could get content with. You think? Killian just released a good little video on this training and stuff. It's absolutely savage. 40-degree treadmill runs or 2 hours on the bike at 40 degrees with a raincoat on. Christ, man. And then going for a marathon every other day.
Yeah,
as well.
It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. I've got Dan Davis, mate of mine who I met over when I went over to States in 21, 22. I can't remember when it was. But he's going to be my US correspondent for the race. He's going to sort of give me a blow by blow what's happening with the. I'd love to be there and see it for myself.
Yeah.
But, can't do it.
Still really good field even without. Just a shame, isn't it? Like finally everyone together.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they ought to actually plan it properly and somehow try and figure out how they could get the original guys. But I think that there's no chance. Like Jeff Rose is kind of like a recluse now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or something. So there's no chance of getting the original cast on it. I don't think you'd get most of them. I think, but Depends if somebody comes up with a load of money to pay them to do it.
Yeah.
Then they do it. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I think I've kept you for long enough, mate. I appreciate you coming on and sort of giving us the update on what you've been up to, and it's good to get you on your own solo. Finally, you've officially made it now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think last time you had Tom, I listened to Tom's recent one, but I think we had Tom on like before we came on as a pair. He like kept referring to this guy he knows who's ran UTS, and I was like, "Come on, Tom, like give me at least a name drop or something."
I forgot your name.
Yeah, no, it's been good, mate.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? Tom what? Tom
Tom
John.
Joly de Lobinière is his full name. Yeah, he keeps that quiet. The
Yeah.
second part,
He
Tom
does
Jolly.
have that on his Instagram though, doesn't he? That is actually his full name is on there, but yeah,
Mm.
his handle is just Tom Jolly. Right. Appreciate you coming on, mate, and having a chat, and looking forward to see what happens with Worlds and everything. So I wish you all the best.
Thanks very much. Been good being on.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers. Bye 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 bye.